Oh my gosh, there's nothing like casting on a new project. So exciting, so much fun. Uh-oh.
Mom, can you make me a... What is that? Your hands? What's that?
What's what?
Come on, show me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mom, don't make me return your Rhine back tickets. I can't believe you! You have a million other projects.
No, I don't.
I'm so disappointed in you. Wait, is it for me? Okay, carry on then.
So what you're telling me is that as long as it's for you, it doesn't matter if I have like a million projects?
No.
Those are the rules. Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Janine and this is Evelyn. And we are a Frankenfrog podcast. I mean, I am, but Evelyn wanted to be on the podcast today, so I'm powerless. And I said yes.
I kept on asking.
Yeah, she really did. And there may have been some tears. Yeah. So, I want to welcome you once again back to Frankenfrog. I am a knitter, a crocheter. I like to play drums. Actually, I'm playing drums in a karaoke band at the moment, and we have a show coming up at the Phoenix. So if you're interested in that, you could send me a DM on Instagram at Frankenfrog and ask me how you can get there.
I think everyone just wants to see your new yarn.
Oh. Okay. Anyway, I'm excited to be like playing a gig, you know, after a very long time of not playing. Also, I teach high school, and I think this is our 8th episode. And if you like the podcast, if you enjoy the fact that I'm trying to create a connection between, you know, knitters, dyers, crocheters, yarn store owners, and all that. If you enjoy that, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe. Yes, every time somebody subscribes, fairy gets its wings.
What?
That's legit what happens. AKA, I like jump up and down out of excitement. Yes. And you can turn on notifications to find out when the next video is happening. So you can see we're wearing matching sweaters, and the cool thing about these sweaters, this is the Soldotna by Caitlin Hunter, but the cool thing is that I used 4 skeins to make both these sweaters. So
Mom's thing is itchy at the top.
It's a little itchy up here, but that's okay. But yeah, like I used a combination of Fiesty Fibres and the Farmer's Daughter Fibres. Yes, the top of yours is quite soft. To make these, and it was kind of cool to get 2 sweaters out of 4 skeins. Yeah, so those are our matching sweaters, and you model them like this. And also these headbands were just, you know, improvised. They're just made out of seed stitch. And hers is a little bit like narrower than mine. And the yarn I used for these headbands was a Madeline Tosh colorway. I'm not sure if they still make this or even what it was called, but it's really, really beautiful. One of those beautiful speckle yarns. So I got a lot of new stuff this week, a lot of new acquisitions, some new stash enhancements. And I stopped by a new yarn store, new to me, called Spun Fibre Arts out in Oakville. Evelyn came with me. And it was super amazing in there, very welcoming. It's women owned, it's queer owned, it's a fabulous, safe space. And we had a lot of fun. Oh, spent some money, whoops. So first, I got some sock yarn. Thank you for holding up the label. Super Soxx.
I'm not sure if... Oh, no. Does it...
No, don't worry. It's not backwards when they see it.
Oh.
No. Yeah. So, yeah, it's Lang Super Soxx. And
it's so beautiful.
the fiber content is 65% virgin wool, 25% nylon, and 10% cashmere. And we picked up these socks in the store. And what did you think when you felt the socks?
Oh my god, it was like so soft. Like, I loved it. So
They were super soft and fluffy. So I said I wasn't gonna buy yarn. Like, I literally walked in there and I said, I'm not buying yarn. And then I bought the yarn. So it's already caked into 2 cakes. Yeah, this is one of the cakes. Actually, you can see the middle of this one a little bit better that way. Yeah, you want to hold that one? Thank you.
Yes.
And then this one, you can't really totally see into the middle because I wound too much into that ball and I had to wind it back by hand. Yeah, but you can see that it goes through the full rainbow in these 2 balls, but like separately. So the way the 2 socks look is completely different, but fading through a rainbow. So this is one of Evelyn's new socks, right? No, we don't need to see that. That's, no. And this is the second sock. So it's so beautiful the way it starts. That kind of greenish yellow and then it's fading through. Another new thing I got, new stuffs, is the needle that I'm using for these 2 at a time socks. Yeah. So these are Lykke needles, and honestly, I tried Lykke needles a while ago, but I found that the cable was quite rigid, and that was some of the bigger needles. But I am actually loving using these needles to make these socks. So yeah, I'm loving these needles because they're a little bit flexible. So they're actually quite easy on your hands as you're knitting the socks. And because I want this color to be continuous from the beginning to the end, because I don't want you to have a different color in the middle of your heel, I'm going to be doing not an afterthought heel this time. So if you want to tell me in the comments what your favorite heels are to do on socks that you think might look great, because these are just stockinette, as you can see. So something with a little bit of detail, you want to touch them? Yeah, something with a little bit of detail might be a great idea for these. So let me know what you think. But yeah, new yarn, new needles, already caked up, and it's living in my Fibremancy bag, the porg bag from By Stitchual. Okay, go back in your home. So, while we were at Spun Fiber Arts, a very new, cool store, new to us, we met Danielle, one of the store owners, and one half of Wonder Twins Fiber Arts. Yes, exactly. It deserves a round of applause, this situation, because look at this bag that we picked up. Supermodel, take a turn. It's got an adjustable strap. So you really can walk around with a fairly big project in this case. And look at how the zipper zips down from the top, so your yarn can just feed out of there. I know. Shockingly good. It deserves that dance move. All right, and there are like a quadrillion fabric choices on their website, which I will link in the description. And you can get it with a wrist strap. You done now? Or with this longer strap. And there are smaller sizes as well, and they're just really cool, and I'm in love. And it's holding something that's a secret. Just kidding, you've already seen it, but I'm not showing it during this section. And yeah, oh, anyway, this is the package for those Lykke needles I got. You can see they're US size 0 or 2 millimeter, and actually this is the first time that I've ever owned a 2 millimeter needle. I always use 2.25, but I'm really loving it. And I think her last pair of socks was a little tiny bit loose, so I wanted to try a slightly smaller needle with the same amount of stitches. In addition, she threw in these beautiful Pride labels, also by Wonder Twin Fiber Arts. Yes, we love it. so yeah, and Evelyn and I were super sad because for the second year we couldn't go to Family Pride, which has been a yearly ritual for us as soon as she could go anywhere. We always have lots of fun there, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah. But next year, hopefully.
Last time I got a stuffy.
Yeah, they gave you a stuffy, remember?
It lasted pretty long.
Yeah.
Until it lasted.
Into the graveyard of lost stuffies. This was actually the first thing I ever received being a podcaster, that was kind of like a little gift. So that touched my heart and I was like, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so excited to use those. Thank you. Okay, let's see if I have any other new things to show. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay, so additionally, I got something really cool. Okay, so Emily C Gillies, I don't know if you are part of her newsletter, but if you subscribe to her newsletter, she offers free kind of webinar, workshop things on all different topics. And the next topic is going to be Intro to Drop Spindles. So guess what I got? I ordered the most beautiful drop spindle from Emily's online shop. And I'll show you it. It is spectacular in every way. Totally beautiful. Made by Moosehill Woodworks, made in Canada. Birch spalted sugar maple. All right, yeah, you wanna hold it? You can hold it. Use that to spin yarn, or spin fiber into yarn. You can tell I know so much about it so far. And then obviously I had to get some fiber. So Emily recommended Corriedale, so that is what this is. Dream Team is the colorway. Yes, do you want to touch it? It's 100% commercially combed. I'm trying to read it while you're touching it. Top, and yeah, 100% Corriedale. It's 100 grams, okay. I don't know too much about fiber yet, but yeah, these two things are gonna party together soon. And I do know that this has a long staple length, and a long staple length is easier to spin than a short staple length. That's all I know. So hopefully next time we see each other, I will know something about spinning. And the second little like extra I got, and I was like, yay, thank you so much. Along with a handwritten note that Emily included, and always includes, which is so nice. I got this little bit of Polworth, which is not a beginning spinner's kind of fiber choice, but I'm excited. Emily gave me this little bit to like try my hand at, I think, after I've tried with the Corriedale. What do you think of that?
Oh my god, that's soft.
Isn't it? And what do you think of the color? It's so beautiful.
Yes, a bit of purple, a bit of blue, a bit of, what color is that?
I think it's like teal. It's almost like a storm on the ocean, isn't it? Ooh, yeah. So it's exciting times over here. There's too much excitement. What are you saying?
Too much.
Too much.
Too much.
Too much. Okay.
Too much.
Okay. So get control of yourself.
You get control of yourself.
Okay, I'll get control of myself. Okay.
Okay.
You got control?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's time for the whip parade. 76 sweaters led the whip parade with 110 pairs of socks close at hand. Thank you, music theater background. Yes. Also, we are allowed to sing this year at school. One of the subjects I teach is music theater. So you just still marching? You still marching to the Music Man soundtrack? So very excited about that, that we can sing at school. That is a side note. The main event. It's time for the main event. Are you ready? Whips.
Whips.
What does WHIP stand for? Work
in progress.
Oh, who's a genius? You are.
I am.
Yeah.
I am a
Genius. So, you've heard of Sleeve Island, but I don't know if you've heard of Extreme Danger Torture Sleeve Island. Just kidding. No knitting is torture, but I'm on super ultra uber Sleeve Island. Remember these? Remember these? Well, these got some love. These are the sleeves for my husband's sweater. The Timberline, I think it's the Timberline sweater. I wanted to say Timberlake for a second because Justin. So yeah, they're beautiful. There's 7 cables in total. And you can see all the increases happen in this purl section. Yeah, we're getting there though. I'm almost there. I think I finished 8 increases and there are 12. So there's not too much more to go in the sleeves. I've got 2 of my Chiagoo cables attached together to do these 2 at a time, just because they take up so much space that I really wanted to like have that extra space to do them. And what size of needles am I using? Of course I cannot see. I'll put it up in the details. But yeah, I think I'm making the large size for him in that sweater. So that's rolling on. So this is part of the Sleeve Island, and then the other part of the Sleeve Island, super uber ultra, is this situation. So I'm literally knitting 4 sleeves at the same time. It's the kind of accolades I like. Thank you. Wow. I should always have you on because you give me applause. Okay, so these are the sleeves for my very V-neck sweater by Jessie May. And, oh, sorry, I forgot to say the yarn I was using for Austin's sweater. This sweater is Knitpicks, and it's, I'll put the name of the yarn up there, but, oh, it's Wool of the Andes. Here it is. So this is the yarn I'm using, Wool of the Andes, worsted. It's 100% Peruvian Highland wool. Yeah. And yeah, this is my very V-neck sweater. You can't see the V-neck because it's on the inside. Oh, you kind of can, of the sleeves. And there's a huge section of ribbing at the bottom here. And there's a huge section of ribbing all around the neckline and down into the V. So even though it looks like teeny tiny and like it would not fit me, once all of that is done and it's blocked, it's gonna be just perfect, even though I used a smaller needle. I'll put that info up as well. Use a smaller needle. This is supposed to be DK and I'm using fingering. But I made a medium and I'm usually a small in her pattern. So I think all of that is contributing to it turning out to be the right size because you know I didn't swatch. All right, excellent. I think those are all the whips that I have. Oh no, it's totally not. I told you I had lots of whips and I do. The little like meep of a project you saw in the intro is the Layla bralette, and it actually is for Evelyn, who's just casually drinking bubble tea in the video now. You know, just that's what you do, right? Is that so good? Taro slush bubble tea?
Yep.
Remember you asked me if it was healthy today? Is it healthy? But it's delicious, so, you know. It's good to ask if things are healthy. I think that's a good idea. So yeah, I cast on the Layla bralette by Joan Ho with my leftover Illimani Sabri, which is a beautiful cotton and alpaca blend that is absolutely spectacular to work with, that I picked up at the Knitting Loft. Wow, I'm all over the place. This yarn, sorry for my very V-neck raglan, is La Bien Aimée in the colorway Sari. And I bought it quite a long time ago, but I'm super excited that the sweater is finally coming to fruition. It's gonna be done very soon, actually. Oh, one more thing that I'm doing. I love the sleeves on the Le Pouf cardigan. And these sleeves are kind of similar, except for they just go straight and then you do the ribbing. There's no like decreases. So what I'm doing are a few increases here, and then I'm going to pull it back together and do some ribbing so that it has a little bit of a bell sleeve at the bottom. I just think that's gonna be super adorable. And also I like to push my sleeves up. And I feel like with the open sleeve at the end, it will be very hard for me to push my sleeves up because I'm always sweaty. Okay, another whip I have is in my beautiful Wonder Twins bag. So, this is quickly becoming so big. This is the next section in Stars in Your Hands. Is this gonna be a reveal when I take this down? Shoo! She did a costume change. Okay. Anyway, this is the next section in Stars in Your Hands. You can see it's very similar to the first section. So let's take a look at how big this thing is becoming. And this thing feels like a dream. It feels like a dream. The baubles are incredibly beautiful. And I cannot wait to do the baubles in the next section. And the section I'm working on right now, I'll hold it still and don't touch it please for a moment. There are some blue flecks in the white yarn I'm using, and they are coming through just like I said they would. So really, it's helping to tie the colors of the shawl together. And I think that when this is worn, it's gonna be absolutely fantastic. Stars in Your Hands is a pattern by Inese, and it has 3 different colors of mohair in it, and that's what I'm doing. And then you have, I think it's 3 skeins of the main color, and I'm using Trailhead yarns in Cabot Trail, in the Cabot Trail fingering weight. And I'm just so excited with the way that it's turning out. It's all lace all the time. And then all knitting through the back loop and then some baubles. So it's just a really big party. And I'm having a really fun time doing that. And it fits perfectly in my new Wonder Twins bag. So, hooray! Hooray for that. Don't zip the mohair in the zipper.
Do not zip the mohair.
Yeah, that's a very good rule of thumb for life. Okay, so now it's time for the main event. Okay, so I actually did finish one thing this week, even though it just seems like it's an endless parade of whips. Yeah, thumbs up. And what I finished was for one of my bandmates who I play with. Do you know who this is for?
Esty.
Yes, my friend Esty, who is an incredible woman. She learned the bass during the pandemic, and now has a 200 song repertoire on the bass, and she plays with in the same karaoke band as me. And so her birthday just happened. Kind of missed it because I actually forgot to bring this on her birthday, but I made her an outline tank. Sorry, there's a little, it was all folded up, so there's a little like wrinkle in it, but it is gorgioso in every way. And it's the 3rd one I've made. Oh yeah, you gotta bring mine over. It's inside out, so it won't be as effective if you leave it like that. But yeah, I just really enjoy this pattern. Dropping the stitches is really fun. This yarn is so, yeah, that's mine. Made out of hemp that I got at by Stitchual. Thank you. Yes. So this yarn is that Illimani Sabri that I was talking about, and wow, is it spectacular. It is so light. It's so soft. I have never felt anything like it because you can feel that this is going to be a very, all right. You can feel that this is going to be a very like cool, lightweight garment, and yet so soft and not crunchy in any way, right?
Yes.
Isn't it incredible? So I'm super excited to give it to her. And I'm going to be posting a little like garden photo shoot because she has like pretty much the best garden in Toronto as well. So I'll be posting a little photo shoot featuring this new make, my third outline tank, because I love making it. But yeah, those are all the goodies I have to show today. So now I am so excited to introduce Amanda of Stitch Noir. She is so much fun. She's incredible. Her gradient sets are off the hook. They're absolutely beautiful, incredible in every way. And she's a super free, fun, fly by the seat of your pants kind of person. And we had a fun time chatting. So we hope you enjoy. And we are live! Woohoo! I'd like to welcome Amanda Hyde of Stitch Noir to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
I am so excited to have you because I've got to say, of all the dyers in Ontario, your yarn is the most like a party.
I appreciate that. When I'm dyeing, it kind of feels like a party.
Yeah. So that really comes through. And as soon as I saw your yarn, I hoped that you would say yes to the interview. And I'm so excited that you're here. Yeah.
Well, I like to talk. So inviting me to a podcast is the quickest way to be friends.
Yay. This is why we're doing it. All right. So what was the catalyst that made you start dyeing yarn that was like, I'm knitting, I'm crocheting, and now I'm dyeing?
I moved backwards in the process. So like 10 years ago, someone taught me how to do a granny square with crochet. And that was a huge thing. And that evolved into making shawls, specifically skull shawls. And if you Google skull shawls, you'll find there's like one or two main patterns. One of them I memorized, and I sold skull shawls for years and just made skull shawls. Then I taught myself knitting, and then we went to visit a friend who sat me in front of a spinning wheel. So then I was spinning yarn on her wheel. So then I got a wheel. And the next step back, well, I mean, you could argue spinning or dyeing, which is first, but the idea of spinning yarn and dyeing it, whatever colors I wanted, was interesting. So there was some experimentation about 3-4 years ago with some food coloring in a microwave and some wool from Michaels. And those colors, we're not going to talk about those colors.
So how did you go from the Michaels yarn to the yarn bases that you're dyeing now?
I just started experimenting, and I think the impetus was that I wanted really bright, saturated, or contrasty colors, or sort of gothy colorways, which was my aesthetic for 20 years personally, that I couldn't find. So that's where the experimentation even came from. And at that point, it was trying to find suppliers and trying to find ways to get, more than 1 or 2 skeins at a time. So I have a number of suppliers now where I get my yarn. And that was a whole process in itself, was learning the industry and how do you source bulk amounts of yarn and bulk amounts of dye and all that sort of thing. But that's really what it was. It was, I wanted specific colors that I couldn't find, that were bright or that were saddened in certain ways. It just had a certain aesthetic to them, and I couldn't find them.
That's the best reason to start dyeing your yarn. You're like, there's this hole that needs to be filled. Let's fill it with yarn.
Exactly. Although, ironically enough, I knit with other people's yarn because I always love what other indie dyers do. And I found more indie dyers when I became one. So what happens is I end up selling my colorways and find other people's colorways to knit with, which seems a little like, circular, but there it is.
But you get the joy of seeing others knitting with your creations. And I think in a way, maybe that's even more exciting than knitting with it yourself, right?
I think so, yeah. When people send me photos of stuff they've made, I can't even tell you how excited I get because I see the yarn that I only saw in skeins and what they've done with it. I've seen some brilliant finished objects and amazing looking shawls, and the people are amazing. So I can create the yarn, but I can only go so far with what I would create with it. And the moment that goes out into the world, like, there's no limits. People come up with all sorts of awesome stuff.
Oh yes, the pieces that I've seen finished with your yarn, I share every one of them that I see because they're absolutely spectacular. So what's up and coming for Stitch Noir? Any Fibre festivals, trunk shows, new yarn collabs? What's up?
I got a bunch of things coming up. I have some things I can't really talk about. I have a collab coming up with a farm and some designers for kind of a non-superwash local yarn kit with pattern in August. We don't have a timeline yet, but hoping end of August. In terms of shows, I have 2 in August, actually. August 22nd is the Hamilton Fibre Forge Fibre Stroll that they just announced today with a bit more detail. It's going to be at the Rockton Fairgrounds. So there's about 80 acres on that site to play with. So, and not a lot of vendors. I think we're talking 3-4 dozen vendors, so they can be spaced out huge, which is why it's a stroll, because you'll finish at one vendor and go, I want to do that one over there, and go, right? So in that sense, it's going to be really safe, lots of social distancing. And I think it'll be a lot of fun because there hasn't been a lot. And then after the 22nd, on the 28th, I'm at the Muskoka Yarn and Fibre Fest. I've never had 2 back-to-back within 6 days of each other, so that's a whole challenge in itself. I'm a pretty small indie dyer. I work down here in this, we have a second kitchen in the house, and there's only so much I can make at a time. And I do have another job that I do, and this is sort of my side job. So 2 shows back-to-back. It's going to be interesting.
Oh my gosh. We're all wishing you luck with that, but I hope to see you at the Muskoka Fibre Festival. I think that would be.
You're going to be there.
Yeah, I hope so.
Awesome.
I
think
gotta,
it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I gotta walk around like vlog style, like with my phone. Oh, maybe get a selfie stick.
Selfie sticks are good. When they first came out, I thought they were just really stupid, to be honest. And then over time, you're like, no, these are the handiest things ever. But, yeah.
Yeah, I hope to do a little like special, you know, at the Muskoka Fibre Festival. I mean, I feel like it's one of the few fibre festivals happening this summer, so gotta get out there. That sounds very exciting. Anything else on the up and coming?
What else do I have upcoming? I'm playing with some new bases, and a lot of things are actually drying right now, so I can't necessarily show things. But for example, my gradients, I make gradient sets. I've started focusing more on them in the past couple of months. And I recently got a shipment of yarn in, and I got a whole bunch of different bases divided up to gradient sets. Whole bunch of different stuff just to try and see what they look like. I have a gradient drying upstairs that has stellina in it. So it's a sparkly gradient. Hadn't done one of those before. I'm working with worsted yarn on gradients because people asked for worsted. So I have a base that I'm playing with. So lots of new stuff coming up. I'm talking about a pop-up show possibly in Toronto later on in September. So we'll see. But beyond August, it's all kind of just see what happens. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants a lot with Stitch Noir because my day job is as a sign language interpreter, and it's detail oriented. It's very heavy in terms of processing, working with language, recognizing power dynamics, working through sometimes complex situations, what have you. There's just a lot going on. It's very cerebral that way. So when I started dyeing yarn, it was very much cerebral is done. Now time for art class. And that's what it was meant to be and always meant to be. So I put thought into my colors, and I try and make notes when I can and plan shows and pre-plan things. And at the same time, I don't let myself do it too much.
That actually leads us right into the next question that I had for you. You're so adventurous with your colors. I remember one Instagram live where you were inviting all of us to decide which colors that we thought that you should put together on the yarn that you were dyeing. As like another artist, I'm like quite the perfectionist and kind of like controlling in certain ways. So when I see that, I got really inspired. Where does that, I guess that artistic freedom, you kind of answered it, but you know, how does it serve you? Where does it come from?
Well, part of it is being an extrovert. I love talking to people. That's where I get my energy from. And especially with COVID and stuff, how do you talk to people? It had to be online. And I was constantly dying, but I wanted to talk to people, and they kind of started meshing in my brain a little bit. But also, yeah, it's also just that freedom, not thinking too much about things. I'm trying to remember the first time I did one of those live. I think it happened by chance. I think I just wanted to do an Instagram live. I wanted to talk to people, and I did one, and I was dyeing stuff. And if I recall, I think I just asked people, do you have a color? Give me a color. I just want to make something. Give me a color. And people start throwing out colors. And usually what I do is I talk out loud, and I start talking, not formally, but sort of color theory as people are throwing things out. So they're going yellow and someone says blue. I'm like, right. So then we have green immediately. So there is a green in there. unless we keep them separate on the yarn. Okay, keep more orange. Well, orange and yellow, great, those will mix. Orange and you're going to get a muddy bit. So how would I put those on the yarn? What way would I, like that kind of thing. And it's just fun because it's by the seat of my pants and it's other people interacting with me and I'm feeding off of that. So between wanting to not let myself get too bogged down in structure and planning and details and wanting to socialize, it kind of made sense that I ended up doing those lives. I keep more. I've actually been invited recently to sort of a yarn club kind of idea where I'm going to do a live session for fun for people, because it's almost like a service in a way, and then you can purchase the yarn at the end if you like it. So it's just a really fun thing. I'm curious to see where it's going to go in future because I really enjoy doing it. And I never know what's going to happen. So it could go really bad one time, knock on wood, but that's kind of the point, is just to see what happens. And usually what I think is, no, that pretty sells out. Those are the things that sell like that people love, right? Always.
Oh yeah. Well, while I was watching it, I thought it was super exciting. And also, like you said, kind of educational, because I was listening to you go through like what was going to happen when these two colors meet, or how you could maybe keep them separate and where you could put them on the yarn. So all of that, as the yarn nerd I am, I was real into it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you get to see behind the scenes because you go to buy hand-dyed yarns, they're there on a shelf and they're all lovely and they're all done with different techniques. But to see actually how they're made in the pan, I don't know, it adds something to that piece. It adds just a bit more meaning to it. You know that someone has actually put the care and attention into that yarn versus something that came from a factory, who knows where, which has its place as well. But there's just an extra feeling to it when you see how it was made and the pans it was in. Yeah.
I think we all have a special place in our hearts for the hand-dyed yarns these days.
How often do you buy the hand-dyed yarn just because it's so pretty with no idea what you're going to use it for? I stash upstairs, I could drown in it, and it's all just really pretty yarn.
It's just about owning it and bringing it to your home, Yeah.
I have some up here, the colors, you just want to stare at them. Just stare at them. And I don't even want to make anything from it. I'll go and look at it because it's a feast for the eyes just to look at these colors,
And so beautiful skein up like that, right? Many of your skeins combine several colors, as we were just talking about, and are quite variegated, and I know some crafters are like, oh, how do I use this variegated skein? Oh, it's so frightening because it's not just one color that's slightly variegated. It's like got 3 colors in it. So do you have any tips or tricks for those people?
Yeah. Actually, Robbie Lichen in Toronto and I did a workshop a couple of months ago online, and it was on hand-dyed yarns. And he and I have been talking back and forth about wanting to do it again. It was literally all sorts of hand-dyed yarns. He had pattern ideas. What can you do with them? I was there to talk about yarns and how they're dyed. And it was a really cool workshop. It had something like 70, 80 people on Zoom attended.
Wow.
So it's something that people really want to know because we love hand-dyed yarns, but exactly what do you do with them? So I won't go into the whole workshop here, but there are 2 things that I tell people when they come to my booths at fiber shows and stuff. One of them is that if they want to look at a yarn that they see in my booth closer, just let me know and I'll open it up for them. So you want to open it up because you want to see, because what you see when it's skeined is not the same as what you see when it's pulled out. You can see where the colors sit, right? So with this one, you can immediately see that there's blue sections and then there's purple sections. So you know that as you knit around this skein, it's going to go blue, purple, and you're going to get a number of stitches with each color. So there could be some pooling depending on the pattern you're using. So that's the first thing that I say is if you really want to get a sense before you buy, ask someone to open it up and see what it looks like. Because then you can actually see how it's going to, interpret when you start to knit it, or at least it gives you a better picture. When you get it home, now I don't have a sample of this yarn unrewound. Is that a word? But this skein is my radioactive, and when it's dyed, I only have one left. When it's dyed, it is a big section of black, large section of purple, large section of green. So when it's skeined up, you see like green and then a big chunk of purple and black, and it looks really interesting. This has been put on a Swift and then rewound onto a second Swift. And that's what it's going to look like knit. That's a better sense of what that's going to look like when you actually put that in a piece of fabric. So I tell people when they get home with their hand dyed, if they're still deciding, rewind it, even put it into a cake, because when it gets into a cake, again, you're going to see the lines of color, and you get a better sense of what it's going to look like, because it's not going to look like this is not going to look like this. I wish I had one of these rewound, because you're going to see much more of a mix of purple, blue, and white with this one when you actually rewind it or cake it up. So there are two things I say right off the top: open them up, and when you get home, rewind that skein and see what it's going to look like.
And when you have these skeins at your booth, do you most of the time have an example that's the same skein in like the two versions? Okay, cool.
I try to that, or I also have little wooden embroidery hoops.
Yes.
And we knit up small squares that they're usually not too big. They're 4 by 3 inches, give or take. And I label them, so then you can see kind of how it was knit. And those are great as well. The only catch with those is that because they're small, sometimes if you have a long strip of color, suddenly you have 2 or 3 rows in this little square that look like a big chunk of color. But when you stretch that out into a larger garment, it's going to be a line. You're not going to have necessarily a big chunk of color. So it gives you a sense, but again, it's good to remember that hand-dyed yarns, they completely change depending on obviously your gauge, your needle size. They're going to look completely different. But the things I've mentioned at least give you a sense, so you can start kind of decide where you want to use that yarn.
Yeah, I think it's super great. When I've walked into a store that carries your yarn, I'm always seeing those little samples, and even though it's small, it does give you a real sense of how it looks knit up. And I think that's just such a beautiful, thing to create for everyone that wants to come and buy your yarn. When we come in, we see it and we know what it looks like. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, I've had so much good feedback on those, whether it's at yarn shows or when I've had little trunk shows at shops. I've sent the embroidery hoops along with the yarn, especially during COVID if I couldn't be there, but they were going to put my yarn out. And the feedback is incredible. It's huge. So obviously it's something that people really want to know. They want to buy the hand-dyed yarn and they don't want to be hesitant about it, and seeing a sample helps solve that problem.
Yeah, those are such awesome ideas. What is on your needles or your hook, or what are you spinning right now?
I'm spinning right now. I don't have any spinning in front of me. I have 2 projects that I've been working on. Of course, I'm one of those people who doesn't focus on one project at a time. So I do have 5 of them go. And they're all different. They're all for different reasons. So this one has been a little static over the past week or 2 because I'm at the point now, it's a sweater. And at the body of the sweater, I am now at the point where you just do stockinette for days. And I get really bored. So I do a few rows and then I move on to something else that is a bit more challenging to mix it up. I mindless knits. So many people love mindless knits, and mindless knits, I get mindless and then I stop doing them. Like they don't work for me. But I'm really happy with the sweater. It's the Red Moon sweater.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my first time doing color work. So I started with it just because when I taught myself to knit, the first thing I did was cables. I jump in head first and I go, I'm going to do the hard thing and see what happens. So color work first time, let's do the Red Moon sweater. And this was extra fun actually, because a friend of mine who's also an indie dyer, she dyed the red for me, and she's doing the sweater as well. And I dyed my wild honey for her. So she has yellow moons and I have red moons, but we each dyed each other's moon color on the same base. So we're each using a merino cashmere silk, and we're just each making this moon sweater. So now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, why am I not working on this? I really want to wear it.
It's absolutely incredible. I can't believe that that's your first color work. Look at your tension. It's so great.
It's not bad. It's a little tight along the top. I'm really hoping that some aggressive blocking is going to be my friend.
Oh, it will. There's barely any puckering there. It looks actually super fantastic. Wow.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it, I gotta say. So between the color work, and then the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted something fast, because that sweater's not fast. So I started an aquamarine that allows me to get through a whole bunch of my stash, and I just started working with the body, and I'm carrying like 4 and 5 yarns at a time just to rip through my stash. So the body this is actually the body as high as it goes, and I'm in the midst of making 2 sleeves right now. They're almost done, and then I'll continue up. But yeah, so those are the 2. They're very different projects for very different reasons, but they keep me interested.
Those colors are beautiful.
The aquamarine is a lot of fun because you just choose, like I say, you're carrying 4 or 5 at a time to get the weight, the gauge that you need, and you just switch them out whenever you want to. I will say this is actually an example of where I can get caught up in numbers though, because the sleeves right now, I literally have an ongoing spreadsheet of 6 rows of list of 5 yarns, 6 rows, these 5, like it's ridiculous. So that I can't work on the second sleeve till I get higher in the first, like, but I've caught myself up in this numbers game. So it happens. But
you know what? I feel like sleeves is a good time to get caught up in the numbers game.
that's what I thought.
It has to happen. I think sleeves give you a free pass. Well, that is super exciting. Those 2 projects are super beautiful, super saturated.
Yeah, they're a mix. The Aquamarine is a mix of stuff that I've dyed and things I've purchased. Granted, I'm sort of drawn to dark colors anyway, so not surprising. But yeah, and it's a great way to get through stash because I'm ripping through 6-7 skeins. Which is nice in some ways because they're going to buy more.
Exactly. That's how I work. I'm like, there's a hole on this. Like, fill that up. I know. This is my extremely tiny stash. This is all my yarn.
Okay, you got some holes right there. I can help you with those.
It's very concerning. I need to get in there and get it done.
I'm a needler. That's what I do. Can I throw one more sample in?
Oh yeah, show me.
We didn't talk about it, but well, I did actually mention that I make gradient sets. I started focusing on them more in the past few months because I just realized it was something I was doing that other people weren't necessarily doing, and I like doing it. So I do them on all sorts of bases, and sadly the only ones I have are in plastic right now, lovely and loud, but I don't know if you can see them. But usually there's 7 skeins in a gradient. It depends on the base. I have a lot of sock yarns, I do DK.
Oh, be still my heart.
Yeah, so I have tons of gradients I do in all sorts of bases. And the nice thing about them, I think one of the reasons that they're popular is because fade yarns are popular when you buy the large skeins, right? They go from one color to the next to the next. My gradients require a little more work because you have to work at going to the next color slowly and alternating between rows. But at the same time, you can choose what order they go in, which I think is pretty awesome because when you buy a fade yarn, it is what it is, and you work with that fade. Whereas at least with my gradient, I put them in how I dyed them, but you don't have to follow that. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
And I have a sample here finally. I kept meaning to get one and then kept putting it off. And a friend of mine knit this up, and she's ridiculous. She knit this up so freaking fast. I'm going to back up so you can see it. I can't even if I put my arms out all the way, it's more than 5 feet. And the reason that is because this was made with my smallest gradient set, 7 30-gram mini skeins of sock. So it's the smallest one I do. They're $60, and it made this massive, like 6 foot, I forget the exact measurements, but shawl. This one is the Steggy shawl online. I think it's a free pattern if I recall.
Wow.
But yeah, it's so pretty. And it's supposed to be a sample, and I'm like, can I just wear this, please? But yeah, so those are my gradient sets. And like I say, this is the smallest one. And I started making larger ones because people wanted to make garments and they wanted to do larger projects, obviously. So I'm constantly adjusting the sizes. So when you go on my website, if you're looking at them, you want to make sure you look at the sizes because they're kind of always changing. But yeah, so gradient sets are kind of a thing right now. And I have some worsted coming out that I'm working with. And I just got a whole batch of different bases to play with. So I just finished a shiny Stellino one. So it has shiny, sparkly bits in it. Yeah, I'm constantly changing up because, again, I get bored and the whole point is to be creative. So it's really hard to keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Changing it.
Right. Oh, I absolutely love those. And you're right, like the faded, and you could fade like almost any project. Like this is not a faded project, but I just did it like that, and I think more and more knitters love that because it's you're never satiated. You're like, oh, I got to get on to the next color, when you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps it interesting. There's and I mean, whether you're going through them all one to one, like finishing that skein to the next one, or whether you're ripping through them and then again, or however you're approaching it. I've seen them used really interesting with color work. So like sweater yokes and things using the color work. And one thing I'd love to see a gradient used in, if I don't get to it first, is Stephen West's honeycomb shawl. with like black, and then just
Yes.
have the gradient going through the honeycomb. So you'll have this like stained glass effect, and I think it would be incredibly pretty.
You have just helped me plan my fall project. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I definitely have to come stop by the Muskoka Fibre Festival so we can meet each other in person and I can get me a gradient, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And if you have specific colors in mind, let me know, because I'm always looking for color suggestions, as you well know. I can make a
Well,
gradient for you.
actually, you know, I've seen lots of your gradients, like both on your website and through Instagram, and I really haven't seen one that I don't like. So, you know. I feel like there are so many color combinations that you cover just because you are really courageous with color. So I don't know. I'm satisfied.
The cool thing about the gradients is I can go at it with 3 colors in mind and know that they'll mix in the pan and they're going to create something else. So oftentimes the colors that come out are they're a result of the main colors I put in there, but they're not controllable in the sense that, you know, I don't have that color as a dye, and it may not look exactly that way the next time. So that's kind of the cool thing about them. There's a part of them that is planned, and then it's kind of like in between each skein, there's this like nutty part that just goes nuts. The colors do the thing, and I let it. And they're always unique, even when I try and re-dye the same one over again. So
Yeah.
it's exciting.
That's exciting. It's fun time. And it sounds like this is a big release for you, you know, with your job that's so structured. You know, a lot of our jobs have so many rules and constraints that we're working within. So this sounds like a major outlet for you.
It really is. Yeah, no rules. I can't do rules.
I love it. That's why it's a party. All right. Well, I
Nothing.
want to say thank you so much to Amanda once again from Stitch Noir for joining me. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been a lot of fun. I got to talk to somebody today. It's inspiring. So now I'm going to go dye stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Well, I'll have to check the Instagram later to see what's the haps.
For sure. It's a new base. I'm experimenting with a brand new base today to see how it takes dye. And it's soft and squishy. I can't even tell you.
Awesome. Okay. I know we're all excited about that. Well, I'll let you go for today, and I'll see you in person at Muskoka Fibre Fest.
Brilliant. It's only like 3 weeks away. I will see you there.
Okay. Bye, Amanda.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.
That's enough. What the heck?
Thanks for watching.
And fade out.
How do I fade out?
See you next time.
Hey,
Hi.
since you're here, since you're a person, and I always dye alone, I'm going to show you what I'm working on before you go if you got 2 minutes.
Yay!
I haven't even checked these. I put the dye in the pans and then I walked away and got ready for our interview. So I haven't actually even looked. I haven't even looked to see what these suckers look like yet. But I'm working with an alpaca cashmere silk base. Soft yarn. It's ridiculous. And now I'm like, I hope these look nice now that I'm lifting the lid through. This one is speckled because I wanted to see how it takes speckles. I think that looks pretty good. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I need about. Oh, yeah. Wow.
So it does take speckles. I had to know that. So that's good. That's a new colorway that I started playing with yesterday, a bunch of speckles. And this one was, speaking what takes solids. Oh, hello. You make me happy. Can you see that? Oh, wait.
So good. I love those colors.
That is pretty. See, that was an interesting look into my brain. I don't know if you can you see the pink?
Yes.
I got all 3 colors in, and then this bottom pink, I went through. I must have stood here for a good 10 minutes talking out loud to myself and saying, you know, okay, so I already have this aqua and this teal. I'm like, okay, so I already have blue. I don't need another blue. And I was going to go black. And then I thought, I envisioned it. Sometimes I take out pencil crayons and I'll just scribble on a piece of paper to see.
Yeah.
And the boss would have just pulled it down and like dulled it.
Right.
In my opinions, and I was like, well, no more green, no more blue, and yellow, but no, yellow mixed like you want to hear my whole mental thing, but
No, I get it.
found this sort of pinky,
like a
plummy color.
big lineup
And
of
it-
whips.
I think it worked out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with
It's
it.
not many whips. So good.
You don't even crochet on it. What are you nodding for?